This is Office Talk with Annette Stepanyan. Hi everyone, Annette here, and I'm back with another episode of Office Talk. If you're listening to this episode the week it went live, we are getting ready to celebrate Thanksgiving here in the United States. And I don't know about you, but growing up, I never really liked Thanksgiving. Probably because of the color palette. I know it sounds weird, but I'm really into really bright, fun colors, and kind of like the beiges and burgundies and browns never did it for me as a kid. And I didn't really love turkey either. But now that I've grown up, I've come to really appreciate Thanksgiving, mostly because it's a time for us to just pause and reflect and reconnect not only with ourselves, but with our friends and our families. So as we head into yet another Thanksgiving, I just wanted to share some thoughts I had about really taking time to be grateful and living a life where you're operating from that point of feeling thankful for all that you have. If you just stop and really think about the fact that you have the means and the time and the opportunity to be listening to this podcast today means that you have so much in your life to be thankful for. Especially as entrepreneurs, I know that we feel like we're always on the hustle and we're always focusing on that next thing and focusing on that gap between where we are and where we want to be. And I want to encourage you to, instead of focusing on that delta difference, focus on where you actually are and be really, really grateful for everything that you have, because you have a lot. And I'm not just talking about material things or resources. I'm talking about all the opportunities and possibilities that you have. And while we're on this topic of gratitude, I want to just take a minute to say thank you so much for being here. I say that every week at the end of the show, but I really do mean it. Thank you so much for supporting me, not only through this podcast, but maybe you've been a client of mine or we've met along the way. Thank you for being a part of my journey and for making me feel like I have something of value to share. Okay, so on to today's guest. Today I'm talking to Mary Beth Storjohann. If you don't know her, she is a certified financial planner, and she is really all about teaching us how to better manage our money and our finances so we live a life of true wealth. And that's not only wealth in terms of money, but in terms of feeling really fulfilled with the lives that we're designing for ourselves. I know we're heading into the holiday season, and that can be really financially stressful for some folks because there are all these extra expenses with gift giving or maybe travel to go see family. So I'm hoping that this talk with Mary Beth will inspire you to really confront your finances and really design them in a way so they support you and the life that you want to live. I'm also excited to share that Mary Beth and I, as well as Amy Northard, who I interviewed a few weeks ago, we're going to get together for an event we're calling Questions and Cocktails. So it's a super casual event. There is no agenda. There are no slides. There are no pitches. Basically, we're just going to get together, the three of us, and we're hoping you'll join us for a casual conversation. We are there to answer your questions about law, about finances, about taxes, whatever you want. Or we can just be talking about some of our aspirations for the year ahead, how we can better serve you. To find out more about that event and to sign up, you can head on over to AnnetteStepanyan.com/free webinars. So with that said, let's go to the show. Hey, Mary Beth, thanks so much for being here today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So tell us a little bit about your story and how you got to what you're doing today.
Sure. So I am a certified financial planner. I work as a financial coach, an accountability partner for clients all around the country. My company is Workable Wealth, and it's a virtual financial planning company. So the way I got to my own company is really that I spent 10 years in the financial planning industry from college forward. Spent a lot of time working with those in their 60s, kind of those who are looking to retire, helping them transition from working, growing an income to the retirement years, making sure they have enough or saving enough, blah, blah, blah. And it was fun. It was really good. I enjoyed all of that, but I was also working in a male-dominated industry. I was working with people who could be my, grandparents' age in some cases. It was really hard to actually work with those who I was passionate about working with, which is my generation, my peers, people like you. And I wasn't necessarily given that opportunity. So fast forward 10 years in the industry, I really enjoyed writing. I was really good in terms of explaining things to my friends and family. And I was being pushed down a career path that I didn't necessarily want to be on. So my husband was deployed in 2013. And during that time where I was given this option of heading down this career path, we were emailing back and forth, and we decided that I would take the leap and basically jump into opening my own firm. I launched that in August of 2013, and I'm 3 years in, and now I have clients all over the country. And I basically work with entrepreneurs, professional women, couples, and because my husband was a military spouse, I also work with military families and helping them to organize their finances. So paying down debt, saving for retirement, saving for kids' college, all of like the things that make people's eyes glaze over because money is a tough topic. But I work to make sure that money is fun and relatable and engaging in your life. And I helped people to break down a lot of those barriers that they put up for themselves.
Money is super importante, but people people innately understand that, because it's what makes the world go round. But we all like cringe at the thought of it. And unfortunately, a lot of us don't really get a financial education like in school or in college. Like I didn't really know how to invest. I didn't know how to do all that stuff. So, and in your book, which is amazing, by the way, talk about getting a sense of your financial health. So can you walk us through some of the numbers that we should all know? It's kind of like we know our weight, our blood type. I kind of think like...
So true, right? You know those things, but yeah, we don't know like our net worth.
Yeah. So can you walk through some of just like high level, what are the numbers that people should know kind of at the snap of their fingers?
Sure. So you don't have to know this number in detail, but the place that I recommend that everybody starts is with your net worth. And what that basically is the total of everything that you own, like your savings account, your checking account, your retirement accounts, your home, car, minus everything that you owe. So that includes like your credit cards, your student loans, your mortgages, your car payments. Your net worth is basically, it's not necessarily, you're not like targeting anything by calculating that number, but by getting that number, the goal is to be able to measure your progress going forward. So a lot of people don't really know what their net worth is, but one of the things for me, I'm a numbers nerd anyways. Like I know, like my husband and I, we check in on our net worth every 6 months, and I'm like super competitive. Like I want to see it growing, and I have like a target for what I want it to be at in a certain period of time, and I'm going to be super excited when it gets there. But your net worth basically is something that you can check in on an ongoing basis to make sure that you're headed in the right direction. So if you check in on your net worth, for example, and it's $50,000 or whatever, then your goal is for that to grow over time. But if you see, okay, wait, that's going in the reverse, that means you're taking on debt, you're not saving as much as you should be, and then that's basically a red flag that's room for change. So the net worth is a big thing that you should know. Also, you shouldn't know these necessarily off the top of your head, but it's really important to know if you're actually trying to be strategic with your finances. If you have any type of debt, such as student loans, credit cards, car loans, and you're trying to knock down debt and kind of get those balances down, you should know what the interest rates are on each of your balances. And you can research it at one time and then basically put your plan in place. But any extra money that you're putting down towards your debt should be going towards that highest interest rate balance. And it sounds like that should be easy enough, but I've talked to like lots of people who will throw $25 extra towards their car payment, throw an extra $50 towards their credit card, or, and they're kind of just like willy-nilly throwing money different places. But if you want to be the most impactful with your debt pay down plan, you should be targeting that highest interest rate balance because that's the one that's costing you the most. So that's an important thing to know. You also should know, I guess, how much you're setting aside for your taxes. You should have some sort of strategy around that as an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. If you're employed, I always say the important thing to know is if your employer offers any kind of company match on your retirement plan, like a 401k. So if you're an entrepreneur, but you have a spouse who's got a full-time job, you should know what that, and they have a 401k or retirement plan, you should know what the company is offering, if anything, in terms of a match, because that's free money that you want to definitely take advantage of. Mm-hmm. So that's something. And then also, know how much you should have in your emergency fund. But you should be able to calculate that. That's basically, as a single income household, you want to have up to 6 months of your expenses stashed away. And that's basically like your must-have. I call those your must-haves. So that's going to be, you have to pay your rent or your mortgage payment. You have to pay your utilities. You have to pay, if you have a car loan, the bills you have to pay and the groceries you need to basically have to get by, that's all you need in your emergency fund. Like you're not going to go shopping for clothes or for, you're not going to go dining out if there's an emergency. You're probably going to cut back. So those are important numbers to have basically in terms of like basically a clear-cut vision of what you're working towards. And then the same thing in terms of your goals. The biggest thing, like we talked about, so even just mentioning like we know our weight, but whereas we can be general, like I want to lose weight or something, you actually want to be specific when it comes to your financial goals. So if you're looking to go on vacation, buy a home, start your business, grow your business, whatever it is, we need to be more specific about what those dollar amounts are that you need. So it's not just being vague about the things that you want to do, but being clear, like I want to make this new hire and I need to pay them a salary of, I don't know, $20,000 a year, whatever it is. Or I want to buy this house and I need $50,000 for a down payment. Whatever those numbers are, you just need to be specific. And a lot of people don't go that extra step of adding in those details, which makes it a lot harder to obtain or actually do anything because you're operating in like this weird, like vague vacuum. There's like nothing really, you don't even know if you're making progress. So those are probably some of the important numbers to know, just in terms of like giving you more confidence and clarity as to what you're doing with your money.
And probably your credit score as well, right?
Oh, I forgot your credit score. Credit score is huge. Yeah, thanks for that one. You want your credit score definitely. The credit score I always say is your financial report card, except there's no getting rid of it after college. Like that number is going to follow you around. So I have lots of clients who are afraid to look at this number, but you need to pay attention to it because your credit score and that credit report is going to basically give you all the dirty details that you might be ignoring, but those are the areas that you need to clean up and pinpoint on your credit. So if you know your credit score needs room for improvement, you can target what debt you need to pay off, who you need to reach out to in terms of creditors. Again, that's a number that you can work on improving over time. But your credit score is something when it comes to borrowing money for a mortgage or for a car that can either save you or cost you like thousands of dollars actually when it comes to a mortgage. If you have a good credit score, that can save you a lot of money. But if it's bad, you can be paying thousands of dollars more over the lifetime of your loan. So it's important to know your credit score.
I'm a daughter of a CPA. I've been using QuickBooks and reconciling my account since I was in college when I had my first credit card. So I'm somebody who is comfortable with dealing with numbers and like tracking my money, but I've never gotten to the point of what you're talking about, like what's your net worth and setting these financial goals. And I think there's always been either this aversion to it or this la-di-da-ness to it. I don't know if that's a word. It's not a word, but just this kind of sense of, it'll just figure itself out. What can you say about like the whole mindset stuff that goes into it to kind of get ourselves, I think the how is easy to figure out once you have that mindset of like, I'm going to look in underneath the hood and really like dissect these numbers and really get a sense of like what my net worth is, what my ratio of like debt to equity is and all that stuff. What is the mindset that people need to cultivate and how can they go about doing that so that they could feel comfortable dealing with these numbers and sometimes the harsh reality of where the numbers and maybe your credit score will fall?
So I think the first place you have to start, like in terms of even getting to the mindset, you have to start by asking, like, who's going to take care of you if you don't take care of you? So we're living our lives to the fullest right now, but do you anticipate being able to work like 20 years in the future, 30 years into the future? If you have children, do you want to provide for them for college? Like, how do you think that's going to happen? Do you see yourself being able to ever, enjoy hobbies or travel or do those things? I think, we often tend to ignore our finances and operate in this state of like, it'll figure itself out, but you also feel deprived and stressed out. Like that's the thing. Like there's like almost like the la-di-da, but like when you think about it, I'm sure there's like some anxiety and stress that sits in with like all of the unknown, right? So it's like either ignore it or be like really anxious about it. It's operating those two extremes. So first you have to realize, okay, you have to answer those scary questions. Like you first have to answer the scary questions of like, you're kind of responsible for your own well-being. That's basically it. And then you have to figure out, okay, so obviously we've talked about this in the past, you and I, what is, and I've talked about this with a lot of women, what is good enough? Like, what does being good enough with my money look like? Like, what am I scared about? Do I feel like I'm not enough? Do I feel like it's very overwhelming? It's this whole world that like almost even the media has portrayed as like, you have to like work on Wall Street and read the newspaper and look at the stock market each day to like have your money work for you. And you need to know all these financial terms. And it's, oh my gosh, it's awful and boring. And of course, nobody wants to do that. So then you have to figure out, okay, how can I do that for myself? Like, what is really good enough for me? Do I need all these things, or will I be confident if I just know that I'm saving money and like I have clarity on what these numbers are, that, you know, I'm putting money aside into the right account for my future, and I'm taking care of my family if I need to, or my business if I need to. The biggest thing is like we get paralyzed by all the information that's out there and everything that's being pushed on us, that we don't stop to think of like, what is it exactly that would make us happy? What is it that would give us clarity? Is it, hey, I just want to feel comfortable talking to my spouse about these numbers and know that we're on the same page and not like we're fighting. Or another thing with like spouses is like mine, his, ours. Like there's this whole like this is my money type thing, especially when operating on individual like bank accounts and you contribute jointly. That's like an awful conversation that's really hard for people to broach. And that's honestly where I come in with a lot of clients is like, is this really a mine thing, or are you trying to work together towards joint goals? Being able to get comfortable with those conversations and work towards that. So anyways, you have to figure out what you want. Wrapping it up, you have to figure out what you want first. There's an element of like change there too. Like that's the thing is a lot of people, I think, resist the financial conversations because people don't want to change. It's the same reason like a lot of people like keep their spending problems, keep their weight on. It's the change is hard, right? Like if you're spending and you know you're not saving anything, that's scary to like, oh, I have to change my lifestyle to make this work. And I don't really want to. I don't want to think about the future. I want to keep doing what I'm doing.
And maybe it's about like you're scared of what the reality says about you, or what you're interpreting that reality to mean about you. Or you're being too hard on yourself, or you're being too judgmental of, oh, I should have been at this point in my life by now financially or whatnot. And maybe it's about accepting the reality and recognizing that today's a new day and moving forward, you can now make those changes. And you don't have to be defined by what you've done in the past.
Yeah, that's a big part of it too. I think a lot of people, I always say, should all over themselves. Like, where should I be by now? And what should I have had? And they feel so much guilt and anxiety about, like, they feel guilty about the debt they have. They feel guilty about, like you said, not taking advantage of, like, time was on their side and they should have been saving this extra cash. Like, missed opportunities are something that a lot of people kick themselves on. And it's one thing to, like, get hung up on, you know, it's one thing to, like, recognize your past. Like, this is what happened and this is how I learned from it and this is now part of the story. And then you move forward on from it. But the biggest thing is, like, going back to, like, figuring out where you are versus where you quote unquote should be. I think a lot of times we compare ourselves to others. We actually don't even have like a clear gauge of where we should be. And so again, that's where a lot of the guilt and anxiety comes from. It's like, either way, like you're just not good enough. A lot of people is like, it's just not good enough. I'm just not there. Like, I don't actually know where I should be, but I just know I'm not there. So therefore, like, I just feel bad about it.
Which makes me wonder, and I'm kind of going off topic a little bit, but makes me wonder, like, if it'll ever be enough. I always think, okay, yeah, you have these targets of your net worth. I want to be at this point, whatever. And then you reach that, and then it's just, the bar just raises higher. So it's about, I know you talked about, like, okay, what do you want? You have to identify what works for you, you know, like, what do you really need? But I feel like that's always, that barometer is always going to be moving up as you exceed those goals that you've set for yourself.
Not necessarily. So when I talk about my net worth, like the overarching number that I know, like, we need, I know that's what we need to retire and to, like, live our lifestyle. Like, I know what that number is because and that's where a financial planner does come in. Like, there is like, yes, goals change and things change, but you have, like, those overarching goals of, like, I want to retire by, like, X age, like, here's the lifestyle that I want, and here's what I want to be able to do. Like, when you work with somebody to craft those goals, I can tell you how much you need to have saved in order to retire and, like, to create an income that you need to live your lifestyle. The only thing is, like, your goals are going to differ from mine. They're going to differ from anybody else's. And that's why you can't look on, like, you can't look on Google to be like, how much do I need to retire? Because really it's based off of, like, what are you willing to do? Are you willing to, like, stick around in your hometown and, like, volunteer and hang out with the kids, or in the house that you have paid off? Or are you wanting to travel the world and still planning on having a mortgage? Those are two completely different income needs. But once you are clear on what those things look like, the bottom line is, like, you know what you need to have invested and, like, what it will create for you. So, like, financial planners can do that for you. And that's where working with a professional can give you that clarity of, like, here's what you need and here's, like, what our goals are to get you there on, like, an annual basis.
Mm-hmm. So what if someone's like, okay, I want to work with a financial planner, but I have no money. So it seems kind of counterintuitive to be like, well, I'm going to go spend money to hire somebody to tell me how to save my money. So what do you tell people who might be thinking that, who might be, like, financially kind of tied up and want to work with a financial planner, but how do you get them over that hump?
So before you even start working with a financial planner, if you have quote unquote like no money, you kind of want to you want to go the DIY route. You want to work with somebody who can help you with just like, you don't even necessarily maybe need a financial planner, or you want to find a financial planner who can do like debt planning or like cash flow crunching. Like if your goal is to, like, if you got a ton of debt you're trying to work through, you might need like credit counseling, like those sort of things to work through before you actually work with a financial planner in terms of like, hey, like you're really stretched, but you need to save like $500 a month into retirement. Because somebody's like, great, yeah, I can't do that. Like you need to actually work to get to yourself to the point where you do have the freed up cash flow. And it might not be like an actual financial planner that helps you there, but it might be like a financial coach or like I said, a credit counseling thing. So the point where you're at with a financial planner is when you have multiple goals, you're going through a transition. If you're running the business, for example, and you're trying to get clear on your taxes and how much to set aside for retirement, like you want to reduce income taxes, a financial planner can help you with that strategy. If you've got like college planning, trying to buy a house, like when you're going through life changes, a financial planner will be good to help coach you through that and create like a plan going forward to work with you. But if you're at the point where it's just like, oh my gosh, it is so stretched, I have debt, and I don't know where my money is going, you might want to start with just like some like trying to go the DIY route, which is like sign up for mint.com. Get an accountability partner who can help you like target the areas of like, are you spending too much in those extra things, dining out, clothes, courses for your business that maybe aren't needed, like whatever those things are,
Those darn courses, man.
Those darn courses. Whatever it is that might be an issue, like you can again like go a more affordable route than hiring a financial planner, but try to do it yourself first with it. It's just like freeing up cash flow and paying down debt. And then when you're at the point where you can start saving for your future, like that's when you want to engage with a financial planner. But if you're like so stretched, if somebody comes to me and they don't have any money to pay me, I'm not gonna be like, oh, let's sign on anyways. My goal is for you to get to a point where you're like, you're able to stash away, and then we can make progress off of that going forward, because that's really strategic. But for cash flow, it's really, you can use like an online software right now. You can make those life changes. There's so many blogs and resources out there for people in terms of like the envelope method, or using an Excel spreadsheet, whatever it is. Like there's ways to kind of bring that in on your own. So I think being creative there is a place to start before you try to work with a financial planner.
It's like if you're not in a physical condition where you can run, you start walking. And then you start building it up. Then maybe you start jogging for like 1 block, and then you walk 1 block, and then So you finally get to the point where you're like, I have the endurance to keep running around the block. And then maybe that's the time that you get in touch with someone like you to like coach you to run the marathon.
Exactly. Ooh. And so when a lot of people reach out to me now, I actually, if they're not qualified, I'll refer them to the book, like versus paying me my retainer, like go spend $13 for the book that'll give you access to all the worksheets that can help to coach you through things on your own.
Which was great, by the way. You work a lot with entrepreneurs who are running their own business or maybe are transitioning to start their own business. So can you touch a little bit upon what are some things we need to be considering if we are either starting a business or we have been running a business for a while? And to the extent that there are any different tips, let me know.
Yeah. So I think when you're starting a business or running a business, everything should be run, like I've said it like 1,000 times. I know it's a broken record, but if you're not doing it, you should be running things through separate bank accounts and separate business credit cards. Like everything should be separate. Personal business needs to be separated. And even if you are a side business, having those separate, or like a side hustle, having those separate business accounts will just help you in terms of planning for taxes and also planning for like future business goals and clarity around, okay, what are you actually bringing in? What are your actual expenses? It will give you so much more peace of mind to do that. So, and whoever you work with, your CPA and your financial planner will love you if you have separate accounts. That's one area to start. When you're launching your business, I think one of the things also, if you're going from employed to full-time, I think a lot of people make that leap without actually considering how much cushion do you need stashed away before making the transition, which means if you're giving up your income and you are building your business and you're going to ramp up over 6, 9 months, 12 months, whatever it is, do you have enough savings to live off of to supplement your cash flow while you're building your business and aren't able to pay yourself? That's one of the biggest things I see a lot of people do is they go from 0 to 100. So I would say build up that cash cushion ahead of time to replace your salary, if possible, that you're losing out on, or whatever those expenses are that you're going to need. Having that cushion is going to give you a lot of confidence. I know a lot of people don't want to wait it out, but But when you're in a business and you have a cash cushion to depend on, as opposed to feeling like you're scrambling for the next sale, you're going to be really thankful you did that, because I've seen so many business owners who don't do that, and like the business fails, they feel like a failure because like they're so stressed out that it just brings so much peace of mind to do that preparation ahead of time.
And people can feel that desperation. They can smell it. It's
yes,
it's like a skunk, like people can smell it off of you when you are desperate for that sale. And also, I was going to add, don't forget to add in like the cost of health insurance in there, not just your salary, but that's a rude awakening. Once you're like, crap, I need to now pay for my health insurance. It can be pretty expensive.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you're not paired off and you can't take advantage of like a spouse's health insurance policy or anything, you definitely need to price that out before making the leap, because that is a big expense. Another big thing that a lot of entrepreneurs don't look for is disability insurance. I see a lot of so we bring in our own income, right? And if we're employed, sometimes our employers will offer those policies. But if I'm working and I bring in my own income, I'm a service-based business. If I'm injured and out of work, what happens to my income? Like, it's going to go away. So what does my family do? That's where a disability insurance policy can kick in to basically say, like, it'll pay you up to like 66% of your income. So paying, like, that is huge for me. Like, I pay for that insurance. Like, if I want my family protected, I want my income protected. Like, that's what it is. It's income protection. So that is something that's really overlooked by entrepreneurs. And I think when you're a full-time business owner, if you're bringing in income, and it's your net income too. If you're netting something from your business, you need to have that. And then also things like tax, like savings for taxes, like that's a big one. Set aside 20%, 30% of your net income on a monthly basis into a separate tax savings account. And then saving for retirement. So if your business is up and running and you're getting an income from it, you want to either be you can contribute to like a Roth or traditional IRA up to $5,500. A SEP IRA or a solo 401k are great for self-employed people, for us to be able to contribute even more to our retirement. And those are accounts that are actually going to allow us to reduce the amount of taxes that we owe. So I talk about this in terms of, we get to the end of the year and everybody's like, what should I buy to spend my money and reduce my taxable income? And I'm like, no, let's not buy anything. Let's save for retirement for your future. And that does the same thing. So instead of buying like that laptop this year that you might not need, try saving for retirement, and that'll actually get you on a better financial track.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if you could hear me, but I was like furiously taking down notes. So I'm going to go back and listen to this, because I'm like, crap, I don't have that and I don't have that. So this is super helpful.
We can talk offline about what to open and where to open it.
Oh, okay, cool. You should, you're going to love me, because you should see my like setup that I just set up a few weeks ago. It's insane. I don't know, maybe it's a little too much, but everything is like itemized. I have accounts for all these different things. So I think you might totally love me.
Be totally proud.
Yeah.
So proud.
But you touched upon really quickly about making an investment in your business. So when is a good time? And like, if you're like, you want to buy that new computer, or you want to buy that course, or you want to go on that conference, what are some things that we should be thinking about when we're ready to make an investment in our business?
So a couple things. First, what are you paying yourself? Are you paying yourself anything from your business? And does what you spend in your business take away from what you're paying yourself? So first, I want to make sure that all my clients and people are paying themselves something before they're like investing their money in somewhere else. I think it's really important to take an income, whether big or small, from your business, because that gets you used to paying yourself something. And then when it comes to making that investment, whether it's the course, the laptop, whatever it is, you have to ask, what's the return on the investment? So if you're getting a new laptop because your old one is clunky and it takes forever to turn on and things get frozen and you lose documents, how much time are you going to get by spending your money here, and how much more efficient are you going to be? That's probably, could be a good investment. Same thing if you're spending money on a course. A lot of people, the reason I bring up courses a lot, I'm not against courses. I love courses. The biggest thing for all of those is to make sure that you're actually taking action on what you're putting your money towards. A lot of people throw money at things and think that by throwing money somewhere that it's going to fix their problems. But no, you actually have to implement things, and then things, will get better. So also, if you're buying a course or going to a conference, what do you hope to get from that conference or that course? If you go to a conference, are you hoping to get one client and then also learn how to do, two different things in your business, like with Pinterest or Instagram, whatever it is? Setting those clear-cut goals on your business will make it easier to know if that investment is worth it. So for example, if you charge clients $1,500 and the conference costs like $1,000 to go to, if you get, again, one client, it pays for itself. So those are like, looking at the numbers that way is really important. But also you have to save for those things. So if you're in like back to that like cash flow issue, if you're kind of in like in a cash flow tight situation in your business, putting a course on a credit card doesn't necessarily make sense if you don't have, it doesn't make sense at all if you don't have the money for it. So you need to like, there's a way to invest in your business, and investing the proceeds from the business is a good way to invest back in it. But investing like in terms of acquiring debt, that's a lot more risky. And again, it brings back to that stress. So I think if you want things, I usually recommend opening up separate business savings accounts to stash away for those goals, like whatever it is, your professional development budget, and set aside like 5% of your net income or gross revenue or whatever for those expenses. Whatever it is you decide for yourself, stash away separately so that you can do those things. Whether it is buying that new laptop or making that new hire, having separate savings accounts again for those goals can make it a lot more clear what you have available to spend.
Yeah, I love that. I think as entrepreneurs, we are all victims of the shiny object syndrome. And when it comes to what new platform we should be on, or what course we should buy, or what, conference we should go to. And it's like, again, I hate to keep going back to this like losing weight, getting in shape analogy, but it's like, what's the latest fad diet?
Yeah.
Low carb, Atkins, whatever. You kind of have to know your body, what works for you, what works for your lifestyle, and implement the principles and the philosophies that all of those diets really teach, which is eat healthy and move more.
Yep.
And then, and then you can move forward with that. And so,
yeah. I mean, I did the same thing in my business when I launched in 2013. I think I decided to do Marie Forleo's B School. And I was like, this is a big chunk of money. And I basically said, if I go into this and, I better my branding and messaging and I get a client from it, it pays for itself. And I got a client from it who has now referred me multiple clients. So it more than paid for itself. But I went in with that intention, right? So I was engaging in the group, providing value, leveraging the resources with that goal in mind. And so that's important that I wasn't just using it for me to refine my branding messaging. Good. Yeah, I was also taking advantage of like there's local chapter meetups or local group meetups or whatever. So I was doing that as well to build some community. So I think it's important, again, like to take whatever you can get from wherever you're investing your money and take advantage of it.
And it's about knowing the quality of the expense. I was just having this conversation with my husband the other night, is that there's certain expenses or certain, I don't want to say debt, but debt too, that is going to bring you that return on investment. And so it's like a high quality expense, whereas some are just kind of like sunk costs. And again, I don't know why I'm using this analogy so much, but it just makes sense for me. It's the calorie, right? The eating an avocado, I maybe have a lot of fat and a lot of calories, but it's supposed to be better for you than eating a Snickers bar, which maybe has the same amount of calories. But anyway.
Yep.
Me and my calories.
And the Snickers bar, and I want chocolate.
Okay, awesome. So I know that you have a lovely daughter who is growing up so fast, and I want to know what you would teach your daughter about finances. If you could give her one piece of advice moving forward about money, obviously not now, she's a little too young, but when she's at an age where you can have these conversations, what is one lesson that you want to teach her about money and finances?
I just want her to know, oh my gosh, just one. That's so
okay, you can do two or three, whatever.
I think so. Okay, so two things that are really important. Obviously, like I want her to know the value of a compound interest, which basically means the earlier you start saving and investing, the more time your money has to grow and the more it will grow. So if you look at like basic math, I think I have like a blog post on my website where I talk about like somebody who saves for 20 years, she starts at the age of 20 versus somebody at the age of 30 starts and saves for 20 years. The 20-year-old ends up with like a lot more money just by like saving for the same time period, but just because she started earlier. So the value of compound interest is something that I definitely want Ellie, as my daughter, Ellie, to learn. I think that's a huge just financial lesson when you start to look at numbers. Money, the money growing upon the money that's growing, basically. It just keeps getting bigger. That's one. And then also, I think the value of giving back. That's a huge financial thing as well. So whether it's with like her time or her money, that not everything has to go just towards like bettering our own selves. It's also, to better the world as well. So I plan to do there's like the 3 jars approach. There's lots of different ways to teach kids about money, where there's like save, splurge, like donate. I plan to do that with her as she gets older as well, teaching her that this jar is for her to like give away, give back, and showing her that at an early age as well is important to me.
Yeah, and not to get woo-woo, but there's something about actually spending money or giving away the money, even sometimes when you feel like you don't have enough for yourself, that I think mobilizes this kind of energy that returns it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You have given us so much information, and I'm going to link to all of your great resources in the show notes, including where people can find you and your book and that blog article that you just mentioned. But I want to cap off this chat with a question I ask all of my guests, which is, one thing I know for sure is, and please fill in the blank.
One thing I know for sure is that nobody will look out for you like you look out for you.
Thank you, Mary Beth, for that. Thank you for all the invaluable advice you've given us here today. Thanks for all that you do and for being here.
This was so fun. Thanks for having me.
So there you go, my friend. If you'd like to learn more about Mary Beth, head on over to the show notes at AnnetteStepanian.com/podcast/14. And remember, Mary Beth, Amy Northard, and I are getting together on December 6th for a free, fun, casual event called Questions and Cocktails. So we hope that you can join us. You can learn more about that also in the show notes. Just grab your beverage of choice, put the kiddos to bed, get comfy, and let's connect. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to talk to you soon.